Every single day you wake up, you're faced with a choice. Not the kind of choice that comes wrapped up in some big dramatic moment, but the subtle kind. The kind that hides in the small, ordinary minutes. Do you hit snooze or do you rise? Do you tell yourself you'll wait until tomorrow to take action? Or do you push yourself into motion right now? That choice defines the quality of your life far more than the occasional grand decisions we love to romanticize. The truth is, motivation isn't something that falls from the sky and lands in your lap. You don't wake up with a magical surge of energy that lasts the entire day. Motivation is built, brick by brick, from the small acts of discipline you decide to take. When you force yourself to do the thing you don't feel like doing, you are teaching your mind who is in control. The more often you do that, the stronger you become. But here's the catch. Daily motivation doesn't come from waiting to feel ready. It comes from acting before you feel ready. Think about how many times you've sat around waiting for the right moment, the perfect energy, the flawless plan, and then nothing changes. The moment you stop waiting and start moving, even in a tiny way, that's when the spark shows up. Movement creates motivation. Progress fuels more progress. Every morning you're given a blank page, and it doesn't matter how messy yesterday's chapter was. What matters is what you write today, and writing today means getting uncomfortable, saying yes to effort when your body screams no, showing up when no one is watching, and pushing past the voice that tells you to take it easy. That voice will always be there. It never disappears. But the difference between people who rise and those who stay stuck is who they listen to. If you want motivation every single day, you have to stop negotiating with yourself. Stop giving yourself an exit route every time things get tough. Replace I'll try with the I will. Replace the I can't with I must. Replace a maybe tomorrow with a today. Because life is happening now, not later. And let me tell you this, motivation isn't about fireworks. It's not about that one dramatic burst of energy. It's about consistency. It's about consistency. It's about being the kind of person who doesn't need to feel like it to still get it done. The gym session you didn't want to do. The work project you kept putting off. The call you were scared to make. Those are the moments that define your strength. So don't look for motivation as a feeling. Build it as a practice. Wake up tomorrow and remind yourself that this is your shot. Your body, your mind, your career, your relationships, they all grow when you stop waiting and start acting. You will never regret giving your best today, but you will regret the days you let slip by in hesitation. Choose action. Choose courage. Choose now. That is how you create daily motivation. Not by waiting for it, but by becoming the person who makes it. Daily motivation is built through consistent small actions, not waiting for inspiration. That sentence might sound simple, but when you live it, it can completely transform your life. Most people get stuck because they are waiting. They wait for a magical moment when they feel ready. They wait for that spark of energy to suddenly appear. They wait for the perfect plan, the perfect timing, the perfect level of confidence. And while they wait, time passes, opportunities slip by, and nothing changes. Motivation is not a gift that shows up at your doorstep. It is something you create through the choices you make in the ordinary moments of your day. Think about brushing your teeth. You don't wake up every morning and wait for inspiration to strike before you go to the sink. You do it because it's part of who you are. It's consistent, automatic, and you don't question it. The same principle applies to motivation. If you only act when you feel like it, you will rarely act. But if you train yourself to act regardless of how you feel, motivation begins to grow naturally. It becomes less about mood and more about habit. Here's the truth. Success is not built on massive leaps. It's built on small, consistent steps that compound over time. People often underestimate the power of tiny actions because they don't see the results instantly. If you do 10 push-ups today, you won't see a new body tomorrow. If you write 1 page today, you won't suddenly have a finished book. And because the results are not immediate, most people stop. But the ones who keep going, the ones who keep taking those small actions day after day, are the ones who end up building extraordinary results. Consistency beats intensity. Anyone can push hard for a day or two, maybe even a week when they feel excited. But the people who win are the ones who keep showing up even when they are tired, even when it's boring, even when no one is clapping for them. That is what daily motivation really means. Deciding that small actions matter and committing to them relentlessly. Imagine two people who both want to get in shape. One person goes to the gym once a week and works out for 3 hours straight. The other goes to the gym 5 days a week, but only for 30 minutes each time. Who do you think will see better results after a year? The answer is obvious. The person who shows up consistently. Why? Because habits beat occasional effort. That's how motivation is built, by creating a rhythm you can sustain, not by waiting for waves of energy that come and go. And here's something important. Those small actions are not just about the external results they bring. They're about the message you send to yourself every time you do them. When you take a small action, you're telling yourself, I can be trusted. I follow through. I move forward. Maybe you dragged yourself to the gym when you were tired, or opened your laptop to write a single sentence when you had no ideas. Once you got moving, you suddenly found a rhythm. That rhythm made you want to keep going. That's the power of movement. It unlocks motivation that wasn't there a moment earlier. Progress, no matter how small, creates a shift in your psychology. When you see that you've moved an inch forward, your brain craves more. You start thinking, if I can do this much, maybe I can do a little more. And that little more leads to even more. It's a chain reaction. The hardest part is always the beginning, because the beginning feels heavy. But once you start rolling, momentum carries you further than you expected. Here's a simple example. Imagine you're lying on the couch, exhausted after work. After work. The thought of cleaning your entire kitchen feels impossible. You tell yourself you'll do it later, but later rarely comes. Now imagine you decide to just wash one plate, just one. Suddenly that one plate turns into 5. Then you wipe the counter. Before you know it, the kitchen is clean. Did motivation appear magically at the start? No, it appeared after you started moving. This applies to every area of life: fitness, career, relationships, personal growth. If you're waiting for motivation to arrive before you take that step, you're going to wait forever. But if you push yourself into motion, even in a small way, you create a spark. That spark grows into a flame, and that flame fuels bigger actions. A danger of waiting for motivation is that it trains your brain to be passive. You give away your power, telling yourself that your energy depends on something outside your control. But when you decide to move first, you take control back. You prove to yourself that motivation is not something you need to wait for. It's something you create. Progress is addictive. Every time you take action and see results, even small ones, you strengthen the desire to keep going. The gym becomes less of a battle when you see your body changing. Work feels more exciting when you notice your skills improving. Even personal habits like reading or journaling become rewarding once you see how they shape your mind. The more progress you see, the more you want to keep progressing. That is why people who take consistent action seem to have endless motivation. They are not waiting for inspiration. They are feeding off the momentum they've built. The beautiful part is you don't need to start with something huge. In fact, the smaller the step, the better. Big actions can feel intimidating, which makes you avoid them. Negotiation is useful when you're dealing with other people, but when it comes to yourself, it's often a trap. Because here's what happens. Once you open the door to negotiation, you almost always take the easier option. You skip the gym because you're tired. You skip the gym. Discipline, on the other hand, is solid. Consistency is dependable. And when you lean on those two instead of feelings, you take control of your life. Think about how often people say, I just don't feel motivated today. That's normal. Think about how often people say, I'll start on Monday, or I'll begin when the timing feels right. But timing rarely feels perfect. Life is always busy, always messy, always full of reasons to wait. If you're looking for the flawless moment to act, you'll be waiting forever.